Hi everybody, welcome once again, and in today's video I am going to explain you Chamberlin's third model of group equilibrium. In my previous video I have explained you the first and second model, and in this video I am going to explain you third model of group equilibrium. Chamberlin suggests that in real life equilibrium is established both by price adjustments and by entry of new firms. Equilibrium is stable if perceived demand curve is tangent to the average cost curve and expected sales are equal to actual sales, that is, proportional demand curve cuts perceived demand curve at the point of its tangency to average cost curve. This demand curve D represents the proportional demand curve, and this one, the small d, represents perceived demand curve. Here we have the average cost curve, and corresponding to this perceived demand curve, let's draw the marginal revenue curve of the firm, and here we have the marginal cost curve. So equilibrium is established at this point E with a price P and quantity Q. Since price is greater than the average cost of the firm, the firms are earning supernormal profits, and as a result, attracted by supernormal profits, new firms will enter. As a result of entry of new firms, proportional demand curve will shift leftwards, because proportional demand curve shows share of each firm in the total market demand. So when new firms will enter, this proportional demand curve of the firm will shift leftward from D to a new position. One might think that E1 is the long run equilibrium of the firm since only normal profits are earned, but that's not the case. The firm believes that by reducing the price of the product, it can increase its sales without taking into consideration the behavior of other firms, and it assumes that all other firms in the group will keep the price of their product constant. But as the firm reduces its price, all other firms will behave in the similar manner. As a result, this perceived demand curve will shift leftwards to D2. Now at this new demand curve D2, the price that will be charged by the firm is P2, and the firm will be selling an output of Q2, but at this output, the cost of the firm is greater than its revenue, and as a result, there will be a loss as price is reduced by the firms. Each firm now earns a loss instead of profit. Firm continues to believe that it can earn positive profits by reducing the price further. As the firm reduces the price further, the perceived demand curve shifts further downwards to the left. And the firm believes that it can reach the stable equilibrium at point E2 by producing, or I'm just writing it as E3, by producing a quantity of Q3. At this price P3, the firm wants to sell Q3 units of output in the market, but at this price P3, the market can absorb only Q4 units of output by each firm as determined by its proportional demand curve. As a result, the firm decides to reduce the price further to reach this output, or basically to reach this long run equilibrium output Q3. Further decrease in price, this perceived demand curve shifts leftwards with ever increasing losses, and as a result, loss making firms will exit. Cost is now much greater than the revenue which is earned by the firm. So the financially weakest firms will leave the industry, and as a result, this perceived demand curve will shift from D4 to D3, and the proportional demand curve will shift to the right. Exit of the weak firms will continue till the proportional demand curve cuts the perceived demand curve, and the perceived demand curve is tangent to the average cost curve. Now, all the three conditions are satisfied at this point. E3 at this point, average cost curve is tangent to the perceived demand curve, and proportional demand curve cuts the perceived demand curve. So, E3 is the long run equilibrium of the firm. Equilibrium is stable at point E3 with normal profits earned by all the firms